Well, hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Oh,
everybody.
fancy. What's up, guys?
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen?
Oh, you know what? I got a new mic. I should use it.
It's a great
Little late.
time. Great time.
Better late than never, I guess. Well, thanks everybody for showing up and looking at our ugly mugs once again.
And a blurred hit. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, if you all didn't realize or catch on, there was a cool watermark and a cool logo there. That is our, should we just say it? That is our new official logo of EKF.
That is correct. That's correct. New logo. We won't be getting rid of the old one. We'll use that for stuff. But it's got a new one, nice and slick. You know, easier to market and put on things and all that stuff. So
Yeah, something that's going to look cool on shirts and hats and something
Etched
a
on
little
the
more
chest
professional
boards.
logo. Yep.
you know they don't like our grungy, lots of details in our other logo because it's really hard to etch onto things. So yeah, new logo that was made by Martin Quick. We will we'll post it later. We'll link his page and everything. Does good work. Real cool.
Nick said, finally get a piece of gear and the logo changes. Yeah.
No, that we'll still use that one. We paid too much money for that one.
Yeah.
So
It still got uses. It looks good.
yeah, no, it's definitely a good logo for sure. Craig Storms thinks it's the best logo in the game. He was a little upset.
Really?
But he said, yeah. But he disagrees with me on everything. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cuz.
So what's going on?
We got some pretty big topics to discuss here. I think it's really cool. I think it's a big step forward into a much more professional direction, clearing up those gray areas that we've been hearing a lot about lately.
Yeah, it blew up. We had this we had this plan. We'd been discussing it basically the whole time we've existed about implementing some new rules, and we were going to be the first. We thought we were going to be the first, and then who? Just weird. It just everything blew up. You know, the Bass event down on Pickwick, and then the national championship, all that drama there, and now KBF's getting on board. Apparently, Hobie's getting on board. There's a rumor that Hobie, Bass, and KBF are coordinating and coming up with some kind of universal rules where every big trail follows. I don't know if that's going to happen. KBF and Hobie and all them haven't really gotten along very well in the past, so we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, they invited us. We turned it down.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But
yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. We are going to. So we were going to announce a lot of these rules as kind of like set in stone. This is what we're doing. We're going to rewrite the rules, and we currently have adopted KBF rules like a lot of trails do, and just because it's easier. And we were thinking about just completely rewriting them, adding on. It would have been essentially the same rules, but they would have been linked on. Instead of having a link on our page that goes to the KBF page, we were going to have the rules all right there, and this was going to include the new rules, the changes that we made, and all that stuff. But we're going to hold off a little bit on some of those things just to see how that shakes out with KBF and all of them. And if we don't like some of the things, we'll do addendums. If it's just we don't like a lot of it, maybe we'll go that route and come up with our own rules and all that stuff. But as of right now, we got some things that are set in stone. Some are kind of we're gonna wait and see. And some we already don't like. Some of the things that they said they're going to change, we don't like it. We're not going to change it, even if they do. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, some of them the timing was great because they were the things that we were going to change, and so that's one of the
kind of worked out.
Yeah, one of the reasons we're waiting is that they might be, they might handle that all the effort that's involved in writing those up for us, and if that's the case, then we'll be glad to use those.
Yeah,
so
it'll be a lot easier, that's for sure.
Want to jump into the first one?
Yeah, we can. So the first one's really not a rule change. It's a rule that exists, basically code of conduct. We'll probably maybe put some specifics out there because I think it's just a very general, vague rule. Not necessarily, it's not really gray areas, but I think we need to be a little more specific. It's not like we've had a whole lot of issues in EKF or any really, but some things that happen outside of EKF, with certain anglers and some of us and all that stuff, it kind of bleeds into it, So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to come up with some, rules that pertain to sportsmanship and things like that. And if this is one of the rules that one of the things that Hoover mentioned when John and I were heading down to the KFL championship, Hoover called and wanted to run some things by me about the rule changes that he was doing, because I've been in the KBF ambassador group for years now. And, I've been bringing up a lot of this stuff, just saying, well, you need to change this, you need to change that. And it's always been, no, we're not going to do that. But now, he's on board. So he called to run some things by me. And of course I was like, yeah, that needs to happen. That's what we're doing. And one of them was, I watched a podcast, and I won't say which podcast it was, but one of the hosts on it was talking about, there was some trail or something out there where somebody had done something, and I guess they booted him or they disciplined him in some way, and the host couldn't understand. He equated constructive criticism with making disparaging comments. And it was funny to me because those two things are completely different, right? Constructive criticism with us, we're completely open to it. You want to come to us and say, hey, I don't like this, and be very professional and respectful about it. That's not a problem. But if you're out there and you're just bad mouthing EKF, our sponsors, us, any of us, staff, or the anglers, the other anglers, we're gonna. When it comes to that, depending on what you're doing and what you're saying, we might just straight up boot you out of EKF, no questions. No warning. Like, this is the warning, right? The rule is the warning, and if you break the rule, you're gone. And that's how I've run MAKB from the beginning, and there's no drama. Every now and then you'll get somebody that kind of starts some crap, and you get rid of them, and that's the end of it. So I think those things should apply to these more professional trails. And so that's part of what we're going to do next year. It's going to include things like, sportsmanship on the water. There are rules where you can't block somebody from fishing a certain area. That happened to me down at the 10 Invitational last year, the year before, where another angler blocked me from getting into an area, and I wasn't aware of the rule. So we had some words, and I went on my way. But had I known that, I probably would have just barreled right past him and told him to screw, or filmed it, or who knows what I would have done. But I didn't think it was a rule. I just figured, all right, well, I'm not going to get into it, beyond some not so professional words. But yeah, things like that. So this isn't really a rule. These rules are in place, but we're gonna take a harder stance on some of them, and it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be EKF specific, but if you are an angler who outside of an event or something like that, you say things and you do things, then we might take some action on that. So again,
and it's not intended to be all doom and gloom, right? Like, it's not supposed to be like, we're not trying to make it sound like if you screw up, you're out. But when there's things, social media being what it is, criticism that's coming off that's clearly not constructive, that's just disparaging. We put a lot of time and effort into growing EKF and providing a better experience for everybody that's a part of it. And those types of things are intended to do more harm than good. And in those situations, we just don't need that. We put too much time and energy into this stuff. We've always been more than open to hearing what folks have to say. We don't always listen immediately, but we always take it back, talk about it, consider it, keep it in mind moving forward. So we try to make it so that there's no reason whatsoever to not bring something to us in a constructive way, versus, just crowd talking. And there's always going to be trolls online. There's not much we can do about that. But for the folks that are competing with us and being active in EKF, then we just have to try to keep it at a professional level so that we can keep growing this into a professional level trail.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what our ultimate goal is. You know what I mean? To kind of elevate the sport or elevate EKF within the sport. You know what I mean? Which I think is absolutely necessary, especially for a bigger trail. And we're not there. We're not KBF level, or anything like that. But that's
but we've all seen where it can go, right? So
right, of course.
Yeah.
One thing, Hoover, deserves. He doesn't deserve all the hate that he gets. But one thing that he has done that he shouldn't have is he's allowed the haters a platform, for way too long, and it just built, and then now you get a certain amount of people. I mean, you don't need to give anybody proof. You just say something. I mean, there's countless people out there that think this guy's a monster and have never met the guy, never witnessed anything. He's just, they've heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this guy said he's a jerk, so he's a jerk, right?
But we're not saying it's in response to anything. We're doing it before that. We're being preemptive with this. We're getting ahead of it. So we're not trying to say like there was an issue and there's no like dirt that we aren't sharing. We're getting ahead of that so that if those things do come up and we do have to act, it's like, this is it. We explained it. We put it out there. This is the stake in the ground. So
because we've seen it. We've seen it happen. We've seen it with KBF and other groups,
exactly.
And the other group I'm talking about. Yeah. So we're just trying to avoid that sort of thing. But we don't have a big polarizing person on the staff. Not as bad anyway. So we shouldn't have that kind of target. Don't look at me like that, Torrance. Anyway,
all right. Now on to actual rules.
Yeah. New rule. Go for it.
Did you wait? Did you, Adam? You mentioned. Did you want to go over something about enforcing the rules, or do you just want to wait? Like, because people are going to ask about it.
I don't think it's. I mean, it's hard. You can't really have. We're not creating laws.
Right.
I mean, it depends on what happens, but if it's bad enough, we could take that step to just kick you out of the.
But the reality thing is though,
to fish our events,
right.
You're not in the group, all that stuff. So.
But we're not going to set up like standard actions. We're going to react based on how we see fit, based on the circumstances presented to us. Just like ultimately, if you have any doubts about it, just don't put us in the position where we have to. That's I think the key here. And how we go about it, it's we're not going to set any standards. It's not going to be like a structure of like a warning or anything like that. We're going to respond in real time, and if we feel that whatever took place was bad enough to warrant just an all-out ban, we'll do that, because it's really we're trying to avoid the drama. This is a lot of work as it is, and we don't need any extra work on top of that. So
just be cool.
And we don't have a police force running around looking for.
Or do we? No. Okay. So on to the rules. One of the things that was discussed by Chad, if you've all watched that, is this idea of an off limits period. 30 days before an event, a body of water is off limits. We one of the reasons that we postponed the podcast last week is we wanted to talk about some of this stuff and if we wanted to adopt it. And with the local trails that we try to coordinate things with and try to respect and work with rather than conflict with, we just don't see it as feasible to have that off limits time period. So we are not going to be adopting the off limits time period, but we are going to maintain our 7 days before the event. There's no fishing out of a non-KBF approved vessel, or basically a kayak. So there's no bass boat fishing or pre-fishing out of a bass boat. It's only approved vessels for 7 days within the event. That's not a new rule. It's the same rule we had last year, but we are just speaking to the idea of the off limits period that Chad outlined, which is fine for KBF. We just didn't think it was right with all of our local trails that we try to coordinate with and deconflict with to add this rule, which would inevitably conflict. It's I wouldn't say very uncommon to have local trail events, within 30 days of each other. And so, and the off chance that one of those would be on one of the bodies of water we're having an event on, we're just not going to adopt that to avoid those issues.
And we might in the future. It depends on, if all of a sudden, we're fishing for big money at these events, we might adopt that, but not for now. So don't have to worry about that.
Maybe a championship event or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe in the future.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
So next one, I'll hit this one. We are going in the direction, just like KBF with this one. This one's definitely a good idea with all the controversy that's been going on as of late. No wade fishing, unless otherwise allowed, meaning you cannot drag your kayak, you cannot be out of your kayak to get from spot to spot. The only exception would have to be is if we put it in the rules for that specific tournament. So if we do fish sub river like the Susquehanna, where that's how you fish that place, it will be in the rules stating that you're allowed that. Otherwise, there is basically no getting out of your kayak.
While fishing.
While fishing.
While fishing, yeah.
You got to be in your kayak. Yep.
Yeah, I mean that basically gets rid of a ton of gray areas, just like all the controversy that has happened as of late, which is crazy how it happened back to back, and then boom, this influx of we got to get rid of all these rules. But this is the direction that we're going, and I think it's a good direction.
Yep. And then
I guess I'll take number 4.
Well, that ties into number 3. So
number 4 does, kind of.
Yeah, so that really ties in. So another new rule where you got to be inside the kayak when you're measuring a fish, right? That doesn't mean you have to be sitting. You could be kneeling. Most of your body has to be inside the kayak.
Your butt's got to be in the kayak. I'm pretty sure the butt is the center.
Yeah,
so.
like when I measure a fish, I usually, the way I put my net and everything like that, I dangle one of my feet off the side of the kayak. It's often in the water. That's fine. Something like that is okay, but you can't be standing on the shoreline. You can't have your kayak dragged up on the shoreline while you're standing outside of it. If you want to beach your kayak, if you watched that video with Russ Snyder that they put up, if a lot of that stuff is why we're here, or KBF and Hobie and all them are here. But you watched him. He caught a fish and he put that torpedo on full blast and he drove right up into the shore. And he got out and everything like that. But you can do that, and but you got to be sitting in the kayak while you measure the fish and all that stuff. So yeah, that ties into the no wade fishing deal. Basically, we fish out of kayaks. We got to be in the kayak for everything that has to do with the fishing aspect of it. Casting, catching, landing, measuring, all that stuff. So, you want to do the next one, Torrance? This is a good one.
I'll do the launch boundary one. So number 5, launch boundaries. So there will be launch boundaries, meaning you can go as far up a tributary as possible, but you can't launch way into the tributary and then coast down into the main lake. You have to launch at an approved launch before the boundary or at the boundary.
Yeah. So this is kind of in response to and not just this year. There's been previous events where, ironically, I won't get into that. I won't go there. But there have been people who have been, especially down south. You fish a body of water, and then they are fishing, 100 miles away up a river. It's happened in KFL, it's happened in KBF, and it's always been, to a lot of us, it's like that's some BS, right? But it's part of the rule, and I mean, I've fished up some rivers. I fished Lake Murray. I pre-fished up the Saluda River. I mean, not super far, but had I caught some fish, I would have launched there. But I was fishing in a river. I was fishing very far away from Lake Murray. But yeah, this rule will eliminate that. KBF and them are talking about doing this thing where they have approved launches, and we don't like that rule. That's one rule that we're kind of taking off the table for consideration for us. We're not going to get rid of, like, the roadside launches and things like that, but we are going to limit where people can launch when it comes to tributaries. So if you're, for instance, I forget the name of the river, but if you're fishing King Bay and on Champlain, we'll probably make that there's a launch in the river, up the river, right? So we can't make all the tributaries out of bounds like some people ask for. Just no tributaries. If you're on Champlain, you fish Champlain, you don't fish any tributaries. But of course, if you got to fish King Bay, you need to launch in a river. we'd probably make that launch the launch boundary, and you can go up the river as far as you want. So that's what we'll do, and it'll be you're gonna have to pay attention to the boundaries. We'll have a map. All the tributaries will have boundaries.
Ken, one of the questions we just got was if approved launches are going to be listed, and we're not going to indicate an approved launch like a last launch up on a river. We're going to put a line, and if there is an approved launch before that line, you can launch there, and then you can go up the river.
Yeah. So I mean, some might not have.
Correct, Nick. Yeah, sorry, Nick just said something else. If you have to go up the river without getting out. Yeah. So you have to be able to get out the river without getting out. That's correct.
You can't get out of your kayak. So that changes. Oh, so we should clarify that. So that changes the rule about portaging. You know what I mean? So if you come to a laydown, KBF rule currently, and I don't know if they're going to change this, but currently that rule is that considers that an impermanent obstruction. So you could get out and portage around that. So now that changes the rule, and that you can't get around that. And that doesn't apply. Like if you're in a sit-in and you can get around it, you're good. If you're in a big rig and you can't, too bad.
Yeah, I would say also based on recent events, have a camera going just in case it's called into question. Yeah.
With the Connecticut River event, I called and to get clarification on that whole portaging rule and or dragging over rocks, and it was like the answer I got was if there's flowing water, you can drag your kayak. So if there's rocks sticking out of the water that high, but there's flowing water going through it, a trickle, the rule was that you could drag your kayak, that's kind of what made me go, oh, this is a really dumb rule. Like I thought there had to be some water, there had to be some water, like you could get over it maybe with a little sit-in by pushing yourself, but yeah, if you it's basically dry aside from a small little trickle of water. So that applies to that as well. We won't be able to do that anymore. If it's the Susquehanna, again, we might make an addendum to that rule for that event specifically, because there are spots there, where you're going to hit that kind of shallow water. But otherwise, no. So if you're on Champlain and you go up a tributary and you hit a big giant laydown that's there, that's the end of the road, So, but if you want to, go up the river 10 miles, you can do it, but you have to launch within the boundary, whatever the boundary line is.
Cool.
Yeah. And that actually, that slides right into the next one. You want to cover that one?
Sure.
That's you had the better take on that rule.
Yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to address, it seems like a lot of our rule updates are related to rivers, but I think it's important, some of the stuff we're talking about. So no assistance from non-competitors which has kind of been a rule, but is going to be expanded upon, I guess, and more clarified to include communication as to where to catch fish or how to catch fish, but then also going to speak to wait, what did I mess up again? Okay, anyway, so kind of speak to like I'm all messed up now, Ken. On the rivers. Rivers, like the idea of mother shipping. So if you travel, we know some folks travel with their spouses or significant others, and they take one car. So they get dropped off in the morning and picked up. So one of the things we were talking about is the idea that we can't have folks making runs down lakes and having their spouse pick them up at another launch. So if you have a spouse that's dropping you off, this is just one example of it, but we're basically saying no assistance from non-competitors. And one of the things that we're talking about is the idea of doing a float down a river and the potential that you could get dropped off somewhere, then 15 miles down the river, you're picked up in the afternoon, or you do like a short float and you just continue to do that float because somebody's picking you up, bringing you back, and you're doing it over and over again. So in the case where you are going to be picked up, or you travel with somebody who's driving you to the launch in the morning, you have to be picked up at the same launch. So there's no competitive edge. And that is really the key here when we talk about assistance from non-competitors, is that any communication or assistance that gives you a competitive edge is not allowed. So if in the cases where you maybe carpool with somebody or however, just make sure it's done without a competitive edge. You're picked up where you're dropped off and so on. Okay, what am I missing there?
Nothing.
Or is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, I did good. All
Yeah,
right,
I think
good
that's
rebound
good,
there.
yeah.
Good rebound.
Yeah, I mean, in the case of a river, for instance, we're implementing this new rule with this new launch boundary thing. You can go down the river as far as possible, but that you're going to be limited, right? Because you have your taquito, and you could put some miles on it, but you're going to lose fishing time. But say you can go 6 miles down a river, for instance, and then you got to turn around, right, to get back in time. Or somebody might think, well, I can go 15 miles down the river and have somebody pick me up at this particular ramp, right? You can't do that. You got to put in within the boundaries, and you got to get out within the boundaries. So, you launch again. I'll use King Bay. You launch right there. You can't go way down that river and have somebody pick you up at another ramp. You have to go back and get out at that ramp. But that's pertaining to non-competitors. Competitors can coordinate with each other if they want to do a float. And again, you can't do it in a river, right? That still applies. You can't get outside of the boundary. But if you want to say we're fishing the Susquehanna, and you want to, one guy leaves his car 10 miles, 20 miles down the river, you guys go up river and float down and get out, where his car, that's fine. That kind of goes toward that whole team fishing thing, but you can do that. John and I have done that. We've traveled to a million places, and Susquehanna is one of them, and we didn't fish together. So it's if you want to do it that way, you can do it.
Is that why it's okay? Because you and John do it?
Yeah.
No.
Well, we
No,
don't. We don't.
It's really the whole non-competitive thing kind of falls in line with, there are a lot of trails out there that have rules like that. Like you'll see the professionals where they're fishing somebody's dock, and the guy comes out and starts trying to talk to him, the homeowner, and starts telling them what to throw, and they stop them, and they're like, you can't, fishing a tournament that's against the rules. You can't give me any info. Anything like that. That kind of falls in that line of thinking when it comes to the rules. I can see my hand. I got the screen over here, and I can see my hand.
Get together, Ken.
Distracting. So yeah, that's where that kind of comes in play. You know what I mean? If competitors want to do that sort of thing, then that's okay. It's just a car ride. It's not a big deal.
But then the next one also ties into that one, right? So you can't coordinate river floats with other competitors. But then we are implementing the no communication rule. So that basically means that there's no communication between competitors that serves to help someone catch fish. So that would mean whether you're talking on a phone, emails, text, sign language, any information, talking,
anything, any type of communication. So we've had that rule, but it was strictly limited to like technology, phones,
electronic communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are expanding on that to include basically everything.
Hey Johnny, they're biting Senkos.
Yeah, can't do that.
Yeah, there's no communicating. We're nipping team fishing in the bud here.
Yeah, that's been a big sore spot for a lot of people.
But again, though, it's specific to competitive edge, right? Of course, if there's an emergency, you need help. Those situations are different. And so I just think it's important that we clarify that like right out, because if folks hear this and they're like, well, what about if I need trouble or I'm sinking? Obviously, safety concerns are an exception to it. And assistance, like in dangerous situations, of course.
Yeah.
But we're talking about communication that only serves to give a competitive edge in some way. And when in doubt, just don't do it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's somebody's going to come along and they're going to be like, well, you can't enforce that rule. It's garbage, all this stuff. I mean, I've been calling for that rule since 2016. And I'd share it if I had it handy, but back on the KBF page, I posted right before the national championship, because I'd gone to the one. Well, that was no. It was 2017, late 2016. I'd gone to the 2016 national championship, the first one, and I went alone, and I saw like a ton of people. I was like, oh boy, I'm not fishing against individual anglers. I'm fishing against like these 7 guys here, these 7 guys here. So I made a post about it leading up to the 2017 national championship, and it didn't go over well. A lot of people were against it. There were some people, that were for it, but that was 2016, and a lot has changed since then. And KBF is, from what I talked with when I talked with Hoover, he seems to be going with the same thing, same rule. Just zero communications whatsoever when it comes to locating, finding fish, helping another angler catch fish, that sort of thing. We'll see how they go. This is one of the rules where it's not etched in stone. We're going to see where they go with it. We might amend ours a little bit, tweak it a little bit. We started it last year, and
we're getting some questions, Ken.
Good ones. So they're asking.
One of them is, does this count for pre-fishing?
No, sorry. Yes, it's only tournaments. It's only during tournament hours.
And the other one, I think the question Judy asked, I think is a good question. Can we communicate if we're going to change ramps when we ride together?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything that, none of that sort of thing. Like, we're not saying you can't talk to each other. I mean, I know Judy and John travel together, but it's like if John's fishing a hump and, Judy's struggling, he can't call her up and say, hey, come over here. We've seen that happen. At one of it was the 10 Invitational, right, John? You were there, weren't you?
Yep.
Yeah. Where there was an angler was doing poorly. He was heading across the lake, and his buddy called him and said, turn around, the fish are here. And then he ended up placing, I think, third, something like that.
Yeah, he basically said, get your butt over here and throw a chatterbait on this particular grass line, and he ended up cashing a decent check.
So that sort of thing. And I've helped out people too. I've done it at the one of the Long Island at the Peconic River. There was another angler who was struggling, and I was in first place. I actually won that event, but I was in first place. He passed me, and he was struggling. I was like, what do you got? You got any Senkos? And he's like, no. So I'm like, so I told him, throw a Ned rig, wacky rig and Ned rig, or Ned, TRD. And he went from like last place to top 10, so I can't do that sort of thing. I wasn't doing it to like help him out. He was just passing by. The guy was bummed out, so I just kind of gave him a little tip, and I can't do that anymore. And I tell me, I mean, I tell everybody, I'm not doing it to help them out. Like, it's not like I want them to win. Obviously I want to win, but I'm a very open person. So, if you ask me what I'm throwing, I'll probably tell you usually. So,
well, people are asking about the pre-fishing, and Justin said that it kind of defeats the purpose. But we talked about this, remember?
Yeah. So no, it doesn't defeat the purpose because everything changes.
Yeah, tournament hours are where the time really counts. Practice, like you guys can, 2 people can crush it during practice, and come tournament day, it's a completely different fishery. It happens all the time. Or you guys might crush it, but right.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I mean, I know I have friends that I genuinely like that do it, and I don't like it. I don't think you should do it. It's an individual event. It's not a team event. It's not Tour de France, NASCAR, anything like that.
Right, but we're not putting on an event. We're not putting on a pre-fishing event, right? Our event is only that one day from tournament hours. And so it's not a matter of where we stand when it comes to pre-fishing and sharing and all that stuff. We focus on what's within the locus of our control here, and that's the day of the event.
Yeah. When you look at the bigger picture, right? The bigger picture is you want this to be a professional. We want this to be a professional organization that runs a professional trail, and you need anglers to make that happen, right? So there are a lot of anglers out there that will fish our trails, and they're not going to come back when they see that sort of thing. I know guys that don't want to fish these bigger trails because that happens, and you could look at them. They're like, well, they're not elite. They're not good. They're not going to win, all that stuff. If they had the confidence, they'd do it anyway, and they'd fish against these teams. Other people have won, fishing alone. They've beat the team, all that stuff. But it doesn't matter. These are the people. If those people aren't that good, you still need them. That's what trails are built out of. That sounds arrogant, right? We don't have a trail with, if you have one of the 200 anglers, they're not 200 elite anglers, right? That just doesn't happen. So you need a field of anglers to have a successful trail. And if you have rules in place that allow people to do things that are going to keep those people from fishing, then you gotta get rid of that stuff.
Yeah,
and that's
the way a good way you could look at it is that all of these rules don't benefit any sort of particular angler. All of these rules level the playing field, not skill or whatever. Like there are better anglers than others, but this is just, it gives everybody a level starting ground where there's no, they don't have any advantages. No, they're taking away the competitive advantage besides their skill sets. So all of this is just benefit everybody.
Matt Lee said something good. He says, if you want to share during pre-fishing, that's your own choice and only affects your own results. And that's true. And if you buddy fish when you pre-fish and then you decide to fish the same spot during the actual tournament, you're going to hurt each other. One of you might get a full bag and the other might not, or you might split the bag and you'll hurt each other. And then Ryan asked, how does this work for a 2-day event? So a championship event. And in the future, if we go to a whole trail of 2-day events, how is that going to affect it? Well, so in other words, after the tournament, when you're hanging out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you could tell your buddy, hey, come fish with me tomorrow, and
nothing you can do about that.
I mean, we're not going to pretend we can control everybody after the event.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just reality. So a 2-day event would work the same as a 1-day event, just twice, right? It's like during those hours, there's no competitive communication.
Yeah, I mean, we could say, all right, this event starts Saturday morning at 6 a.m. and it ends Sunday afternoon at 2, and you can't do any communicating. We could do something like that. Maybe KBF will do that. I don't know how that'll work. We know people are going to break the rule no matter what. But who was it? Jeff Sprague recently, with the text messages, getting all those text messages, there was a rule in place, and he got caught, and it's probably one of those rules that people were like, oh, you can't enforce it, so yeah, we know people are going to talk and all that stuff still. However, somebody will probably get caught at some point. And I think John's comment here, do you think there's a possibility of the issue of sharing or being accused of sharing information during the car ride from a river float?
Accusations mean nothing without proof.
Yeah, right. Yep. Yeah, if you come to us and say, hey, I saw so-and-so talking on the phone and he was telling his buddy that, where to fish or whatever, and that's all you got, what are we going to do about it? We can't do anything about it, right?
Right. We can't do anything about you guys talking. But if you're fishing side by side next to each other and somebody sees that and or takes a picture or a video of you guys communicating while fishing next to each other, unless you guys talk about fishing completely separate things. But there's got to be way. Yeah, there's got to be proof, essentially.
Yeah, there's got to be
proof. The burden of proof is going to be on the accuser, not us.
Yeah,
we're not going to investigate if there's no proof.
Yeah, we appreciate the questions. I don't think there's a way that we could really frame it to be like 100% catch-all. What we're trying to do is ensure integrity during the tournament hours.
That's what.
And after that, it really is like self-accountability, right? Like if you have a good day on the water and then it's a 2-day event and you want to spill the juice, that's on you. I mean, I wouldn't do it personally, but if that's something you want to do, then that's your prerogative to do so. It's just during the event, not calling people from across the lake to come fish with you because they're not on fish and vice versa. So.
Yeah, and because we've seen people turn it around for that same reason. I mean, like I said, I just gave an example. That guy, I don't know if he cashed a check, but he went from like 40th place to 7th or 8th, something like that. That was because of me. You know what I mean? And I was in the lead. Like he could have beat me. So it's just, I don't know. We're just gonna.
Plus, I mean,
integrity, right? That's what it comes down to, integrity at this point. And then again, somebody like Sprague will get caught. Yeah, snagging fish. Yeah, we had honestly, we had multiple people at the Mesolonsky event report somebody snagging fish.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
But
we did have
distinct snagging, you know, throwing something out, dragging it, you know, slowly, and then you know, multiple people, like I said, different people. So, but again, no proof, no video footage.
There was video evidence. Somebody did, but it was so hard to decipher just because of the angle of the video. So people are watching. You know, there's money involved, right? Everybody's going to be watching, and if somebody sees you break a rule, there's a good chance that they could be filming you while doing it. But once again, Lauren says it. Ken, you just said it. It's angler integrity will factor in, and I know I believe that the people that fish this trail are the 99% of them have great angler integrity.
Yep. And that's the thing, you know, it's easier to maintain it than it is to get it back, you know. And it's like if the recent sort of walleye tournament has taught us anything, and just anytime there's been accusations, once you have that reputation, I don't think I've ever seen anyone shake it. So I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. Don't put that at risk. Don't put that in jeopardy. You don't want to, you know, if these tournaments are something that you enjoy, and these experiences are something that you value, then at the bottom line is don't do anything to put yourself in a situation to risk it, right? And that's kind of what we think about all the time. I know it's been kind of like a downer of a stream here, but these are ultimately positive things. I feel like we've just been focusing on like things that we can't do, but we really are just we're still a fresh organization, and we're trying to round some of the sharp edges that we're seeing as we go and that we're learning from, but also looking ahead. So as an organization that wants to grow and continue to be professional, because ultimately we're trying to elevate the anglers of the Northeast, right? And to do that, we have to have these events that are just irrefutable, you know, in terms of the quality of the competition, the quality of the bodies of water, but also has to be the quality of the organization that's conducting all of these events as well. So,
and don't forget, it's a competition. You know, you got to have a competitive spirit. You can go and fish with your friends anytime, but when you're fishing an event like this where there's money on the line, you got to be competitive. Like, I want to kick Ken's butt every time I'm out there. I try to beat him. You know,
part of this, what kind of for me, you know, like I said, I've always felt there needed to be rules in place, but with KFL, you know, for me, that showed me exactly how beneficial it is fishing with multiple anglers and coordinating. You know, I mean, God, you know, we made it to the championship 2 years in a row. You know, our team. You know what I mean? And I mean, just you see other anglers, you know, you see other anglers on a team that you know they're not the best angler in the world. And they're out there crushing it, you know. And I'm not being disrespectful or anything, but you know, we've seen it. You know, it's like with that teammate that puts them on fish and all that stuff. You know, all of a sudden they're up here. You know, so it's huge. I mean, that's a huge benefit for people, and we're not singling anybody out or anything like that. We just want it to be angler versus angler. You know, and we want all the anglers to feel like they have a shot at winning, you know, every event, you know what I mean? And not, we don't want people to kind of come and walk away from fishing an EKF event and going, you know, I have no shot, you know, I'm done. You know, I can't compete against these guys that are fishing side by side, you know, for the whole day and, you know, crushing it, you know what I mean? So
we've all seen that.
I mean, and it's, you know, again, it's not against the rule. It wasn't against the rules. So we're not saying anybody did anything wrong. You know what I mean?
No, but there's a lot of time, money. Yeah, a lot of time, money is invested into traveling to our events. I'm sure we've all been to events, or most of us have been to events, you know, around the country that we've shown up to, excited about, only to get to the event and realize like we didn't stand a chance from the get go, right? You know, like, so that's what we're trying to avoid. We want to make these trips worth it. The bodies of water are certainly worth it. So the quality of the fishing and competition should also reflect that, and that's what we're aiming towards. And we'll keep, you know, to the point we made it earlier. All of these, you know, they may be set in stone for a season, but every year we're going to look at these, and if there's areas to iterate and if there's areas to change, or we notice something or something didn't go as planned, we will change it. These are going to be fluid from season to season, as they need to be. We won't just be stuck in our ways and just wait for something to change. We will react based on what we see and what we learn. So,
yep, not quite as fluid as some other trails.
Right.
Yes.
But it'll always
That's why I
be
said by
beneficial.
season. By season.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
by event, right?
Yes.
But it'll always be not just a group or a single angler. It's gonna be something that helps everybody out. That will, once again, said it 1,000 times, it will level the playing field and give everybody a fair shot, regardless of skill and experience.
Yeah.
And I wanna say something that Justin Rednauer said. Ron Champion shook it, the integrity thing. Did he though? I mean, you're bringing it up. Every single person watching this video right now knows that he's a cheater.
I haven't seen much of his kayak posts lately, but maybe that's a secret. Just go underground.
Literally nothing happened to him. Nothing.
Yeah. Nothing
He's
happened
on,
to
like,
him.
He's out there on a USA team, fishing on like the world stage, representing the United States of America.
Yeah, maybe I should have thought that line through a little better. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe
But still, you see his name, and you're like, oh, the cheater. That's what comes to my mind first. So just don't be the Ron Champion. Don't Ron Champion it.
I'll say that.
Or
Somebody gonna throw hands. Remember?
Oh yeah. Well, that would be disparaging, and they want to be allowed to.
No. I meant
It's a great example.
When all that went down, if you actually called him that, people were threatening to fight other people who were calling him that. That was what.
That's okay. A lot of false promises.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get excited. We got some exciting things in the works coming up. Some happier, more positive note things that we'll be sharing hopefully soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Our new logo is great. We're going to try to get some things to put it on here soon.
Did we get all the questions? I'm sorry.
I think
Did
so.
we?
I mean, yeah. If you guys have any other questions about these rules,
John clarified that, and he said, after hours is an assumption. I'm saying during tournament, carpooling back to the ramp. I get it, and I like the fact. Oh, okay. All right, never mind. So yeah, I think he's saying that, like, what, I don't know if people move ramps, if they're carpooling and they move to a different ramp or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course, yeah. Somebody might, we all know that people are probably going to talk, right? But if you have somebody bugged your car, it's good.
Oh, you might. I might let go for the effort. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see. Eventually, the cheaters won't show up. They know they won't be able to hide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Justin, he's still fishing with zero consequences. Exactly.
I just think the whole part of this is, if you're willing to try something, I think the one lesson to learn is, like, even people that you think, even the people you think that you could trust or that you're friends, I think you'll be really crazy surprised at how quickly you find out those are the ones that are turning you in. We've had a couple instances of having to disqualify people here in EKF in the 2 seasons. And the craziest part of it has been the person who has told us and given us the proof that we needed to act on it. It's always somebody close. That's all we'll say. I'm not going to put names out there, but it's always somebody close. So,
that is true. He was awarded a lifetime achievement at Hobie Worlds this year. Well, gee, what do you know?
I mean, it is impressive when you can flex a board that do not break it, right? I mean, that's soft hands
and get away with it. So yeah, I guess
the guy who's better.
Lifetime achievement.
Yeah, the batteries was the innovation award, and the flexing was a lifetime achievement award.
But we all know who these people are, and they have a black eye. They put a black eye on the sport.
That is true, right? Like,
we see their names, and then I automatically, want no association with them whatsoever.
Do we want to make a rule right here? No cheaters allowed to fish EKF.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we haven't specifically said it.
I mean, we have one in MAKB. We had one.
Yeah, so, and he can't pitch anything.
There is a list out there.
So are we banning Ron Champion right now live?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's move on before we incur the wrath
of Ron last place.
Karen Bass Nation. Is it too early to ask how many inches is going to take to win Cayuga?
Oh, 99 3/4. Nick's is 100.
With everybody now, we all know the largemouth bite early in the season. What about the smallmouth now, with everybody having forward-facing sonar? Think that's gonna make a difference?
I think Nick just called a shot.
Yeah, let's just give this one to Nick right now.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Trophy's on its way to you, Nick.
it doesn't matter. It's going to be close.
I think it'll be close. I enjoyed it last time.
Yeah, Justin, he's still fishing as well. Yep.
So last year, or was it last year? Top 10 all had 90+ inches.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
And Joseph won 95 and a quarter.
You call him Joseph?
Yeah, it says
Joe?
Joseph.
That's Joe.
Daddy.
Joe DeDeo.
Joe. Yeah,
I know
and,
Joe.
and just to rub it in everybody's faces, he showed up and didn't pre-fish.
He did not.
He called his shots, man. That's
So
crazy.
there goes he just solved the pre-fishing crisis of sharing information a lot. He just won it.
Yeah,
I
Nick said it's
mean-
going to be tough with smallies. Yeah,
I've never fished Cayuga, so I guess it's a pretty dope body of water.
Dude, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
What are
If
some?
we
Of the,
figure
what
out-
are some of the good launches?
I'd say it's amazing, and I think I caught 3 fish at the last one.
I thought
didn't-
it was an
I
insane
didn't-
place. Even just the water was great.
I didn't pre-fish because of a certain someone didn't want me to fish a spot, and so I was like annoyed. So then I didn't understand the bite, so I spent too much time fishing.
Who didn't want you to fish?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
agree
know.
with Nick and Matt. They said good luck with the Smalley thing.
Yeah.
For sure. I tried like hell a couple
did
years
you?
ago. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You could, and it wasn't the bite. I think.
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, either way, close to 90 plus. I mean, absolutely high
That-
90s. Yeah.
That's a finger, right?
How many
Finger
people
Lake?
are going to be? How many people are going to mention Greg Blanchard's Magic Dock?
Yeah, that
Shut
doc.
up.
That
I know-
doc's in for a rough week.
I know 2 people that'll be there.
That's my
What?
spot.
Yeah.
Right.
Ken
right,
and Greg.
Not Greg's spot.
Ken and Greg will be there.
You can
Hell.
borrow my take too. You can both be in it.
Did I just blow up a spot that's been
Here's
all
the
over
thing.
YouTube?
You don't need that spot. It's literally, I mean, that the whole northern end of that lake is that
No,
good.
I'm just saying how many people are going to be because they saw Greg Blanchard crush it on that.
I wouldn't
Magic
fish
Dock.
Let them all fish there. I'll be fishing the other docks.
Yeah.
I
No,
love
that-
fishing
that-
docks.
That lake is insane. So I'm glad we're going back.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm
very
excited.
excited.
It's very nice
We
place.
have some really cool things in the works right now, and like they're rolling. Things are coming in, and we're very excited. This year for EKF is going to be badass.
We're that close to a no entry fee championship. We could probably say that that's a done deal, but we're that close. Which means you qualify for the championship, you don't pay an entry fee.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I said it last. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean,
You got it
I'm
right,
not.
yeah,
I'm not etching that in stone either. But we're that close. So that'd be sweet. Need to make marina rules very up at.
If the
Cayuga?
marina's off limits, it's off limits. If it's not off limits, it's not off limits. Usually, when you go to marina, they usually have a sign up that says no fishing.
Let's
Yeah,
get
well,
some,
at
we can get
Oneida-
some more information on that. And
At Oneida, I was pre-fishing one, and the guy came out. He was like, "Yeah, you can't pre-fish here." And then he said, "I said, oh yeah." He said, "Yeah, you fish in EKF?" And I figured, he's with NYKBF. He worked at the marina, and I didn't believe him. I was like, "Yeah, I'm running it," and because I thought he was just being one of those guys that were
You
like,
see what
"This
Nick said?
marina's private." And,
Dredged
sure enough,
marinas.
there was a sign. It was like the size of a yacht.
Yeah.
And I went right by it. There were 2 of them.
dredged
I'm
marinas are
sorry.
off limits. Man-made marinas are private water. Leave it to
Yeah.
New York. Jeez.
Yeah, dredge marina. Do they have signs? I mean, do they?
It has to have a sign. I would hope, or nobody's gonna know
Yeah.
unless some Karen comes out and says you can't fish there. You're hurting the fish.
Yeah, I mean, we could. I don't know how many marinas there are, but if anybody has a list of those marinas,
Some have no
people,
signs. Oh, boy.
Some have no signs. Well,
Well, we'll put it out there, and
Well, how many people in the chat are fishing Cayuga Type of 1?
there's not many ones. That was a backfire right there.
No, that's coming.
Wait,
They're just
yeah,
trying to
we'll
find the number
we'll
on
try
the
to
keyboard.
figure out. We'll try to figure out what. I mean, I guess we could put it out there. We could, if anybody knows specific marinas that you can't fish, we can put a list out there,
Mhm.
and then we can just leave it up to the anglers. Like, if you plan on fishing a marina, you need to call them.
Here they come. Here come the ones.
That's gonna be a big event. That again, NYKBF has got an event that day as well. So I'm not fishing. I don't fish that dock. That was a one-off. That was a one-off. They were just there for some reason. I fished there the first time I fished Cayuga at that spot. So, or maybe it is the dock. I don't know.
So does anybody have any questions pertaining to these rules that we just discussed? You can ask now, or feel free to reach out, contact us, and then we can discuss it if you'd like. But I'm excited. Yeah, it is. It's always going to be like we're going to make it benefit to anybody that fishes this trail. Like we want this to be the best possible trail that we can make it, and so that's what these rules are for.
Yeah, and if you think we need to implement a new rule that we didn't talk about, let us know. A lot of these rules came from things that we felt, and we, friends and all the people that we've talked to over the years, been doing this for a long time, a lot of us. So that's where a lot of these rules came from. So, if you have something that you think we should consider, I know Matt has a lot of ideas on things. So yeah, anybody, just let us know. We're open. Just don't say you can't enforce a rule. I hate that rule. That comeback, because my answer to that every time somebody says you can't enforce a rule is, well, you can't enforce the rule of fishing with live bait, right? So should we allow people to fish with live bait? Right? Can't. I mean, if I'm out there in the middle of the lake, I can have a bucket of shiners in my kayak and drop them down, and nobody's gonna know.
And if you don't have the rule there, and then somebody does it, and they get away with it, so you got to have the rules there. So if somebody does something and you catch them, then they get disqualified. But if there's no rule,
Matt.
Yeah, wait, no one's mad.
You can private message me. He has multiple times. So things I've said, he comes in with a comment, and I'm like, God damn, that's
good. That's good. If we do miss stuff, let us know. But we've had a bunch of people message us. Like if you aren't aware, we all have EKF email addresses: Ken at Elite Kayak Fishing, Adam at Elite Kayak Fishing, Torrance and John. You guys both have one, right? I don't know if Torrance has gotten into his yet, but or just directors at Elite Kayak Fishing, and it'll go out to all of us. So you can message us on Facebook. You can email us there. Like, we're always open to discussing things. Like we've had a few suggestions that we've discussed, and we're kind of stewing on a little bit. Like there's always something that we're thinking about. So don't be afraid to reach out to us. We're happy to listen. But yeah, hey, have a good Thanksgiving, everybody.
And just a reminder, I mean, I think we'll have at least a couple more of these before January, that we will be attending the New England Fishing Expo.
Yep. New England Fishing Expo.
Stop by and say hi, and we have a couple things brewing for that show, so just keep that in mind.
Yep, we should have t-shirts, hopefully. Sarah,
merch,
my wife, is going to make some tumblers that she designs, and she buys the tumbler, and then she puts epoxy all over them and stuff. She made you one, John.
Yeah, but she made me a bass tumbler, which is awesome. I use it all the time.
She's crafty like that, so she wants to make a couple. So we'll have those. But yeah, we'll talk more about that.
If you want glitter on it, you gotta let Ken know.
Yeah, we'll probably have sweatshirts, t-shirts, hats. Somebody mentioned the old logo. I don't think the old logo is going to entirely go away. I think we'll use it for some stuff.
No, we love the logo. It's just it's a pain in the butt to kind of market, in certain regard. Like we merchandise, right? We can't make merch.
You can't embroider it at all.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. If we want to, a lot of people like to get logos on their catch boards, and it looks like crap. It's too detailed. So we come up with something that's just, it's more in line with the professional trails like Bass and MLF and stuff. It's just a little bit slicker and cleaner. And but yeah, we won't get rid of the other one. We'll use that for hats
we got some ideas. We got some ideas brewing for both. So
yeah, and we have some ideas for some kind of unique, just kayak fishing shirts too. Adam's got one, I got one. So whatever, we'll see.
Cool. Yeah. Seriously, thank you, everybody, who pays attention and watches us mumble for an hour at a time. It means a lot. There's an average of 20, 25. I mumble all the time. There's a bunch of you guys that really, you make this a lot of fun. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially the guys that came during the live podcast, because it's nice to have your feedback as we're speaking about things.
Yeah.
Have a
And
great Thanksgiving. That's what we gotta say.
Right.
I said it once. Torrance cut me off.
What?
But always, sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, that's good.
But I was gonna say, if you watch this after and you have questions, just ask them. We'll answer.
Post them.
Cool.
Tackle Warehouse Black Friday sale.
3 bells up.
Go for it.
Three
Yeah,
bells
three
out.
bells.
Black Friday. Jesus, Torrance.
Go get a kayak.
I
What are you guys
don't
waiting
buy.
for?
I don't buy lures at 3 bells. I go crazy with lures
Not
every
yet.
year.
Not yet.
Okay.
All right, we're out of here.
All right. See you guys.
So
Take care,
Adam,
everybody. Yeah, I'm out of here. All right, see you
All right,
guys.
bye.
before you
Have a
go,
good weekend.